But I would be remiss if I didn't take this time to thank those who truly touched my heart during this whole process. And the first person I want to thank in the girl group is Giselle.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Potomac, Season 9, Reunion Part 1. And before we get into it, let me start off by saying, Andy Cohen, you were correct when you said a few weeks ago that this would go down as one of the best Potomac reunions. Potomac, y'all ate this first part right on up. Left no crumbs. Everybody, for the most part, clocked in for work. I said, oh, yes, ma'am.
She's about to do what she's about to do, and she's about to show what the girls should have did.
Now, Miss Karen Huger, although you were not at this reunion, we do see you make an appearance in the first several minutes of this episode. From the title, y'all already know that I'm about to wear Karen out. Because Karen, not only have you shown your true colors, but what you did to Wendy was a complete slap in the face. And I'm not even gonna hold you, but I've lost all respect. I was disgusted. I said, wow, Karen, that's how you do somebody who's had your back since day one? But again, we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Don't you worry. And Miss Mia, count your days because it looks like this is your last stop. I don't see you coming back. And what happened at the end, I said, you need help. But y'all, I have a lot to say. I want you to get comfortable, grab your snacks, because you will be here for a while. So without further ado, let's get right on into it, because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. Now, mind you, we start off this reunion in a very dramatic way, because we usually see them on set getting ready. Not this time. We start things off back in Potomac at Karen's house. We see December 20th of 2024, 12 hours later, Karen is found guilty of the DUI and 6 other charges. And I was like, damn, like, we're getting right into it. And I said, but you know what? Thank God. I hate when they make us wait, especially about things like this. So anyhow, we see Karen at home. She has a sweater on, a beanie on her head. The wig is somewhat combed out, minimal makeup. Not the usual all done up Grande Dame. She's obviously very emotional and shaken up and upset. And who wouldn't? Because if that were me, I know that I would be so ashamed. I would be in bed for 2 months and I'd be unable to show my face. So we have a producer asking Karen questions, and he starts it off by asking her, when the verdict was read, what was her initial reaction? So Karen says that her heart dropped. Then she says that she does take full ownership over her car accident. Now, strike number 1. The fact that Karen still can't just own up to it all the way and say, my DUI, that's telling. Miss Mamas, the footage has been shown. You were behind the wheel drunk. You were completely shit-faced. There is no denying that. So for you to keep saying a car accident, that's not what this is. You're still trying to minimize what you did. So now the producer asks her the next question, and he's like, your sentencing is in a month. How are you coping right now? So Karen says, well, right now it's not about me. It's about how my children and my family feel because they're hurt. So she breaks down sobbing. Now, Karen, I would love to be a fly on the wall to hear that conversation between you and your kids and your extended family, because you were on camera having lunch with your daughter in one episode, then you had lunch with one of your cousins, and you kept declaring how you were innocent. And now the footage is out there for everyone to see, and both of your kids, your son and your daughter, have seen that, oh, our mom was drunk. And before any of the Ladams, whatever Karen calls her fan base, before y'all get in my comments talking about you're not God and who are any of us to judge because we all make mistakes, we all fall short, you are correct. But all of us are not on national TV getting behind the wheel drunk and then lying about it. And I don't have a lot of sympathy because Karen said that a deer jumped out, that's why she crashed the car. Then she said that the tree jumped out, that's why she crashed her car. She blamed everybody except herself. And also, Karen has already had a DUI. She is too old to still be making these same mistakes. So no, I don't really want to hear it about, oh, we can't judge and who are we? No. And also, let's not forget how Karen has gotten on several people, former and current castmates, about their situations. So again, to all the Karen stans, save yourself the trouble of typing a paragraph in my comments about how I need to give her grace. It's not happening over here. So now the producer goes on to ask Karen one last question. And he's like, Karen, do you think that there might be an issue with alcohol? And of course, Karen won't ever admit to anything. So she says, no, let me be clear. I am not an alcoholic. And I'm well aware that I have a whole bunch of young children who look up to me. They call me the Grande Dame and Auntie Karen. So my advice to them is do as I say and not as I do. Now, Karen, I am well aware that it's really nobody's place to say that somebody is an alcoholic or not. But from what we've seen, this is your second DUI. There have been rumblings and murmurings all throughout Potomac. Charisse, Giselle, Robin, and Ashley have all said you have called them up several times, late at night, early in the morning, drunk. Charisse has given countless interviews blasting you about how it's a known fact in Potomac, you go to the bars, you hit on the men half your age, and you're falling off the bar stools. The girls have been saying that you've been a lush for a long time. That body cam footage shows that there is a problem.
Oh, this is such a fucking irritant. Poor wife will just let that shit go by. You want to I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I will rise up. I am who I am. So what do you want to ask me?
Now we know that Bravo loves a good time jump for a dramatic effect, because now we cut right to 3 weeks later, January 9th of this year, the day of the reunion. Now, we all know that the reunions start super early. They're already there at 6 a.m. Everybody's getting glammed up in their dressing rooms. And we see Stacey walk over to Ashley's dressing room. And she's like, hey, girl, do you know if Karen's here? And Ashley says, honestly, I don't think so. I didn't see her name on one of the doors. Did you? So Stacey's like, but she has to be here because we want answers. No, I said, Stacey, I'm going to need you to drop this whole naive act. You knew damn well that Karen Huger would not show up to that reunion. Karen has a difficult time taking ownership or accountability about anything. So now we cut to Kiarna in Wendy's dressing room, and of course, they're talking about Karen. So Kiarna says that the last time she spoke to Karen was during New Year's Eve. And then she's like, do you think she's coming today? Let's call her. So Wendy calls Karen up. And of course, in true Karen fashion, she sends Wendy right to voicemail. And I wasn't surprised by that either. It's what, 6:15 a.m., 6:30 a.m.? Karen is in that bed sleeping, getting ready for rehab and whatever else. And also, Wendy, let's not forget, Karen is not even featuring you like that. But we'll talk more about that later on. So Wendy's annoyed that she's been sent to voicemail, and she says, I feel a type of way about that because I've soldiered up for her all season long. I've had her back. I've answered the phone. So now we see all the ladies arriving on set. They're coming out one by one. Giselle comes out first. Giselle, this was hands down your best reunion look ever. The dress was sexy. The cut, everything was chef's kiss. The hair, you looked beautiful. No notes, you did that. Keep this stylist because they got you right. It was glam, it was sexy, because a lot of times, I don't know what the F Giselle is wearing, but Giselle, you did that. Now we have Ashley. Ashley, this was also one of your best looks too. You did that. Now Miss Stacey, great gowns, beautiful gowns in the words of the iconic Aretha Franklin, but we have got to do something about these shiny wigs. That shiny wig, I said, no ma'am. I said, girl. Kiara looked beautiful. Mia was giving me Kris Jenner. I didn't hate her look. I didn't love it. I was indifferent. Wendy looked beautiful. This was definitely Potomac's best in quite some time. And it's so funny to see Wendy and Giselle interact like they weren't beefing for 2.5 seasons. Because you have Wendy saying, oh my gosh, Giselle, look at the nails. Like, okay, girl, like what's going on? It's a new year. Like you doing a lot. So Giselle's like, yeah, I mean, you know, new nails, titties out, you know, new year, new me. I just said, oh, okay, like, all right, Giselle, I see you. But it's still a bit weird to see them getting along and loving on each other after 2.5 seasons of pure hate. So Andy kicks things off in his usual fashion, and now he brings up the elephant in the room about the Grande Dame of Potomac not being in attendance. So it's quiet. Everybody's really solemn about that. So now Andy presses them on if they know why she's not here today. And they all say, no, not really. So now Andy says, as you all know, she was charged for a DUI. She was found guilty on 7 out of the 8 charges. And she's not here today because she's checked herself into rehab. So they're all happy to hear the news. And Giselle says, that's fantastic. And then she goes on to say that as much as they think that Karen lives in delusion and how they joke around about it and they think that it's funny and cute sometimes, in this instance, it's not. And then Giselle adds that while she wishes that Karen would have done this before her case, she is happy that Karen is getting help now. Now, Giselle, let me just stop you right there because yes, I agree with you, but let's be so for real because you've known Karen for almost 2 decades. You know how delusional Karen is. Karen is not the type to own up to what she's done wrong and seek help. There was no way that Karen was going to go to rehab during filming, because that would show that 1, she was guilty of driving drunk, and 2, that there is a problem. Karen is going to deny until she can't lie and deny anymore. So that's wishful thinking for you to say, oh, well, I wish you would have gotten help before. That was never going to happen. So now Wendy interjects and says, well, I'm wondering, is she doing this because she really believes that she needs help? Or is she doing this because she feels like it'll lighten the blow of her sentencing? Now I said, Wendy, we all know that Karen is doing this because she wants to stay out of jail. And I thought it was so weird of Stacey to jump in and talk about let's give her grace. I said, girl, what? And also, Stacey, I'm so shocked that you have all this newfound compassion for Karen when you and Karen left off on a really bad note this season. Now, all of a sudden, you're Karen's biggest champion. Talk about, oh, let's give her some grace. Where is this coming from? So Wendy says, Stacey, I hear what you're saying. I get that. But when you say things like that, it low-key lessens what we're saying, and that's not fair. Part of being a friend is being honest, and she's right. So now Mia jumps in and says that she believes that Karen is only doing this to lessen her sentence. And now Giselle jumps in and says, yeah, anybody would. And Andy agrees, like, yeah, I would do the same thing too. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, nobody's stupid. Nobody wants to be in jail. But yeah, Stacey was getting on my nerves in the background saying, well, that's not fair. That's not fair. And I was so confused. I was thinking, what's not fair? Like, what are you talking about? So they can't talk about Karen? And again, Stacey, I'm confused because you and Karen aren't even cool like that right now. So for you to be caping so hard for her, it's just strange. So of course, Ashley pulls a stunt. She says, well, I had a feeling that the Grande Dame would not show up today. So here's this picture of her. It's a picture of Karen in white. And I just said, okay, girl, when it comes to Ashley, she's gonna always give you a cheap stunt. So Andy's like, well, enough about that. I have a surprise for you guys. Karen actually sent you guys a message. So they're like, wait, what? So Andy's like, I haven't seen the video yet, so we're gonna play it right now. They play the video of Karen, and the video was filmed on December 27th. So we see Karen. She looks pretty, very demure, very mindful.
Okay, ladies. As you notice, I'm not there. I am going away to a treatment center to address taking antidepressants and drinking. I want to get to the bottom of it.
So then she says, I would be remiss if I didn't shout out all the people who have truly touched my heart during this time. So mind you, as Karen's video is playing, the camera is panned to Wendy's face. It is clear that Wendy expects Karen to shout her out. I'm thinking that Wendy's name is going to be the first, if not the second person that she calls out to say thank you so much, right? Karen says, the first person that I want to shout out is Giselle. You've been a great friend to me and I love you. We cut to Giselle crying. She's really touched that Karen said that. Again, we pan back to Wendy's expression and she still has a smile on her face because she's thinking, okay, now she's going to call my name out and say thank you to me. Baby, the next person that Karen thanks is Kiarna. She says, Kay, you're my girl. You really brought me through it. So I'm thinking, you've known Wendy a lot longer than you've known Kiarna. So if I were Wendy, I'm already feeling some sort of way that you called her name before you called mine. But okay, let me not be petty. Maybe it was an oversight, right? When I tell y'all, I was floored. Karen says, and next I want to thank Jassi for the sweet notes that she sent me. Like, I love you, girl. Mind you, Jassi is a friend of the show, and Jassi is not even on the set yet. I just said a mess. So at this point, we cut back to Wendy's face, and Wendy looks annoyed now, because it's like, girl, what? So, child, the next name that Karen calls is Candace. Baby, I was gagged. Y'all know I love Candace down, but I was not expecting her to say that. When that camera panned to Ashley and Giselle's faces, I could not stop laughing. Ashley was shocked. Giselle's face was cracked, honey. That neck vein was popping out. I said, Giselle, girl. I said, control it. I said, control it, mama. Like, you look real hurt over her calling out Candace's name. I said, ooh, wait. But not to bring up old stuff, Giselle, I just think that it is crazy that you have a grudge against Candace when you started all that mess in the first place. But again, we're not bringing that back up. Let's let that go. Anyhow, Karen now says, and I want to thank one last person. I want to save the best for last. So I'm thinking, oh, okay. She's going to call Wendy's name. Like, that's her way of saying, Wendy, girl, like, you know, thank you so much. Ciao. Karen says, the last person I want to thank is Andy Cohen. I said, Karen, are you serious? Even Andy was shocked. He was like, me? I said, girl. I said, Karen, really? This is where I'm about to lay you out. I said, no, ma'am. I said, no, ma'am. You didn't call Wendy's name? Karen, that is nasty work, and you know it. But Karen ends the video by saying that when she comes back to the group, she's not coming back as the Grande Dame anymore. She'll be coming back as just Karen Huger because Karen is enough. And I said, oh, okay, now you want to act like you've humbled yourself and you're going to come back down to earth and be Karen again and not the Grande Dame. Baby, stop. Because here's what you're going to do. You're going to be all sweet and meek and mild for season 10, but you'll be right back to the Grande Dame and all the antics and all the BS back in season 11. So they're done watching the video, and now Andy turns his attention to Giselle crying. So he's like, I want to talk about how emotional you got watching that. So Giselle says that my prayer for Karen has always been that she would get some help, not in a shady way, not to tear her down, but because she is a beautiful person. And now we have Andy turn to Wendy. And he's like, Wendy, I noticed that you seemed a bit unmoved when you watched that video. So Wendy's like, oh, did I? And even Mia jumps in and says, I did think it was interesting that Karen did not thank Wendy either. I said one thing about Mia, she's gonna always jump in to fan the flames and make things worse. So Wendy's like, look, I don't want to make this about me. I don't want to be selfish, but I have reached out to her and I've supported her all season. So Andy's like, girl, you obviously felt something. And I said, exactly, Wendy, it's okay. Just say how you really feel. You were hurt when you watched that video. And that's okay to say. I was hurt for you. So Wendy's still trying to be diplomatic and she says, well, I do feel something, but I'm not trying to conflate the two issues because I also feel something from what Stacey told me that she was saying about me during the season. So having seen that video and then with all the stuff that Stacey told me, it all adds up and Karen is not my friend. I said, all right, Wendy, let's officially clock in for work, please. I said, thank you. I said, won't he do it? Because we've all been saying this for quite some time that Karen never saw it for you. So now Giselle jumps in and says, but Wendy, you knew that. You've been knowing that. So now Mia interjects and says, I don't know why though, because Wendy has been riding hard for her. You've supported her, like you've even checked me for her. So now Giselle's asking Wendy, why didn't she ever listen to her when she told her earlier on that Karen never liked her? So Wendy's like, well, I never acknowledged it because I like to see what people have shown me, and she's never shown me that. Wendy, I have to tap you on the wrist. Miss Mamas love you down, but we are not going to sit up here and rewrite history. Karen told you to your face, behind your back, in season 5 that she was not featuring you. She made it clear that she did not like you. She told you that you were a wannabe, a social climber. She told the other ladies she's too thirsty. She keeps telling folks that she knows me and I don't know her. Karen thought that you were pretentious and arrogant regarding your 4 degrees. She made it clear that she did not like you on any level. So for you to say, well, I go off of what people have shown me and Karen never showed me that, yes, she did. I don't know if you're trying to pretend like you forgot all about that, but Wendy, let's be honest. You wanted Karen's acceptance and validation. You want to be in this group. So Giselle's not trying to hear it. She says, now, Wendy, I told you on this reunion couch a few years ago. I said it to you at Monique's lake house. I was letting you know you weren't listening. So Wendy's like, well, it's because I didn't trust you. Now, hold on, right? Because one thing about me, I pride myself on being objective and being fair. At that time, Giselle and Wendy were cool. Wendy, this is what happens when you give people a pass to play in your face the first time. That woman sat up there in season 5 and said, I don't like Wendy. Wendy is not a fit for Potomac. At the reunion, when Andy brought that up, the way Karen backpedaled and gave that weak-ass apology saying, oh, I didn't mean it like that. Wendy, I would love to get to know you more. Let's try again. Karen saw how the viewers and a lot of us content creators were already calling out the colorism on this franchise. So the only reason why she decided to turn a new leaf and give you a chance is because she was trying to dodge the colorist allegations. And let me save Karen's stand some time because I already know that a few of y'all are going to say, how is Karen colorist because her husband is dark and so is her daughter? Do you know how many colorist women have dark-skinned spouses and dark-skinned children? That's a separate video, a separate topic for another day. But I don't want to hear it. And go back to my old recaps. I have been calling it out from jump that I did not believe that Karen's motives for all of a sudden turning a new leaf and befriending Wendy and giving her a chance were pure or sincere. And quite a few of y'all beat me up in the comments saying, no, Brooke, you're so hard on Karen, give her a chance, and no, Karen actually likes her, and she was only being shady, it's not that deep. And now here we are 4 seasons later with Wendy having Karen's back, and Karen is thanking everybody else except for Wendy. Karen proved my point from several years ago that she never liked Wendy. So Wendy says, well, if I'm being fair, Karen did have my back last season when you guys all dragged my mom through the mud. I said, if we're being honest, Wendy, Karen could have had your back a lot more last season. Just because she said, oh, don't talk about somebody's mom, is that really having your back? I'm just saying, like, Karen did the bare minimum last season for you. And also, Wendy, that's only one situation out of how many? Because for the majority of your time on this show, everybody has gone after you. Let's talk about in season 7, when Mia assaulted you in Miami. Karen didn't have your back then. Karen sat up there and said, well, I'm sorry, Wendy, but you're also at fault too. Excuse me, what? Wendy did nothing wrong in that situation. But let's be clear about one thing. I've lost all respect for Karen, because for you to sit up there and not acknowledge somebody who's been a true friend to you, despite how horrible you've been to them for years, that's really messed up. Now, the way I screamed when Andy said, my eyes fell out of my face when I heard my name being mentioned in the footage. Remember how at one point she tells the cop that Andy's the one who gave her the name, the Grande Dame? So Andy's like, let me be very clear today that I was not the one who coined the name. That was Giselle. He was pretty much like, look, leave me out of anything that involves the police, body cam footage, DUIs, like, I'm not involved, okay? So now Andy brings up the commentary on social media and how there was so much outrage on Twitter about Karen driving drunk. So he's reading one person's tweet about how they lost a loved one due to drunk driving and they feel like Karen needs to be in jail. So you have Kiarna like, oh my gosh, like, wow. And I'm thinking, Kiarna, love you, but girl, stop. Why should Karen be exempt over the outrage and the backlash and the consequences for what she did? Karen drove drunk. Karen can get it just like everybody else. Karen is not exempt. So Andy points out that there's been a lot of concern and betrayal and anger with the viewers. And then he says, raise your hand if you resonate with the feelings. And Ashley jumps in and says, well, to a degree. And now Mia says, well, I tried to tell you because I've been out with Karen several times and she gets drunk and behind the wheel. So now we have Kiarna jumping in to defend Karen, and Wendy looks so annoyed. Now, with this rift between Karen and Wendy, that's definitely going to be a main storyline for season 10. And now I'm wondering if Karen and Kiarna being so close is going to put a wedge in between Wendy and Kiarna. Because remember, they were also good friends too. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I won't be surprised if Kiarna and Wendy's friendship is messed up with how hard Kiarna is going for Karen, knowing that Karen has turned her back and done Wendy dirty. So Andy's like, well, we have a lot more to discuss about Karen, so we'll put a pin in that right now and come back to her later. And now we get to Wendy's segment. So Andy starts it off by saying, Wendy, we saw a much funnier and lighter side of you this season. Why do you think that is? So Wendy says, well, turning 40 because that's monumental, and then on top of that, resigning from her position. I honestly feel like the biggest reason why we saw a lighter Wendy was because she got along with everybody for the first time. Remember, seasons 5, 6, 7, and 8, Wendy has been on an island all by herself. This was her first season where she got along with the entire cast. She pretty much had no drama. She could relax, let her hair down, and just have fun. So that's the real reason why she was able to have a good old time and not have to worry or stress because she got along with everybody and was able to film with everybody. Nobody was icing her out. Nobody was lying on her and her husband. Nobody was assaulting her. So yeah, of course, she's able to be a lot more fun. So now Andy brings up Giselle and Wendy patching up their friendship, and he says, I have to say, I'm sure that it was a big relief for the both of you guys to work through your animosity. So Wendy says, oh yeah, that was an added bonus. And Giselle says that when her and Wendy sat down to talk, they actually listened to each other for the first time. Now, my only critique of this reunion was how Andy did not read any viewer questions about that conversation, because I sent my question in. And my question was, Wendy, we only saw a minute out of that 2-hour conversation. You said that you guys talked about everything. Did Giselle apologize for saying all those nasty things about you in seasons prior, especially when it came to you being assaulted by Mia? And she said out of her own mouth, I do not care that Wendy got assaulted because I don't like her. Did you get closure for that statement? Did she apologize? And I find it funny that Andy just breezed through this whole segment because he did not want to hold Giselle accountable. And I'm just irritated because this season could have been so much better had you guys not cut out scenes that we wanted to see. We were robbed of seeing that conversation take place. And I'm still pissed at how you cut out Wendy's scene from the finale.
I have always held you down, off and on camera.
I would have respected that from you.
So now Andy starts asking Wendy about how is business going with Happy Eddie. And Wendy says, oh, business is booming. It's doing so well. The cannabis industry is phenomenal. And I'm so happy to hear that, because the way Ashley and her raggedy friend Deborah really tried to malign Eddie's character, talking about he wanted her. Girl, what? I'm just so happy that Wendy and Eddie were able to make a business out of all that foolishness that happened in season 7. I said, I know that's right.
Bling, bling, bling. Bitches is mad.
And now Andy's going around the room asking all the ladies if they've partaken in Happy Eddie's devil's lettuce. So Kay's like, you know, I sure have. And I said, girl, I know that you are partaking in every single thing because you're dealing with that sorry man with those ashy feet. Baby, I'd be smoking weed every single day too. So now Andy points out that Stacey was really enjoying herself at Wendy's party. She was indulging in those gummies. And Stacey starts laughing. She's playing coy. And she says, all I'm going to say is I salute your husband's business. And I think that you guys are going to be so successful. So baby, when I tell you, I don't know what happened off camera, but Giselle was on Stacey's neck for the remainder of this reunion. Giselle is like, hold on, Stacey. Aren't you coming out with your own Happy Stacey weed line too? Because that's what I heard. So Stacey, of course, is giving you that innocent, doe-eyed, you know, what are you talking about? She's like, wait, what? Like, no, I'm not. So Giselle says, are you sure about that? You don't know what I'm talking about? Didn't you have a meeting with somebody and you told him that you're a celebrity? So Stacey is still playing dumb. She's like, no, like I didn't do that. So Giselle says, oh, really? You didn't meet up with somebody about a weed line of your own? And when he asked you, why do I need to work with you? And you told him because I'm a celebrity? Are you sure about that? I said, Stacey, you're over here saying that you're a celebrity? Girl, stop. And Giselle took me out when she said, oh, and when she starts her own Happy Stacey line next year, don't be surprised. You heard it here first. I told you. So now Wendy turns to Stacey and she says, Stacey, I hope you don't do that. So Stacey's like, no, no. And if you caught how Stacey responded to Wendy, she looked guilty. She looked like, oh, damn, like I'm caught. Now, I've been on Andy for quite some time about how he's been checked out at a lot of the reunions, but you could tell that he was having fun with this reunion because he was engaged. He was throwing some shade. He was joking around. Like, it was really fun to watch because it's not fun when he's just disengaged from a reunion and he wants to just get through it. Because when he threw that shade to Wendy saying, well, didn't you copy Karen with the candles? And Wendy was like, wait, who, me? She copied my idea. I said, ooh. Andy does read a viewer question asking Wendy, isn't it a bit hypocritical to put stipulations in your kids' trust funds about they have to get a master's degree because isn't that your whole cross to bear with your mother? And Wendy says, well, we have a trust for all of our kids, but there are stipulations like they get extra money if they get a master's, they get extra money if they learn our native language, and my daughter will get extra money if she joins my sorority. So they're all like, oh, you know, that's a great idea. Like, I love that. Now, I thought that was a great question because I was also a bit confused when that episode came on and she told them, you know, you guys won't get your trust fund if you guys don't get a master's degree or whatever she said. It was a joke, but I was kind of like, really? So now Andy brings up the White House visit and he says, Wendy, you invited Karen to join you and your family a few days before you found out that she was talking badly about you. Do you regret inviting her to the White House since knowing what happened? And Wendy says, yeah, I do regret inviting her and I honestly wish that I didn't. We all could have told you to invite somebody else because Miss Karen is an opportunist, she's a user, and she has never seen it for you. So now here's where things really get good because Andy brings up Stacey telling Wendy about Karen saying that Wendy is self-absorbed, not a girl's girl, and he wants to know what was Wendy's reaction when she heard that. So Wendy says, well, I believe Stacey immediately because Stacey is new to this group. Why would she lie? So now we have Kiarna jump in and she's like, Stacey, I just have to say, I don't think it was right for you to wait until you and Karen had issues in your friendship to put her on blast about what she said. And I'm thinking, okay, I can agree with that, right? Because that is a little bit petty for you to put me on blast when you're mad. But that's why they always say, watch what you tell people. Because when mad day comes, people will put you out on blast. It's a rare person to keep what you guys talked about between y'all when you guys fall out. At the end of the day, Karen should not have been talking about her friend Wendy behind her back in the first place. And if she felt like Wendy was so self-absorbed, then why don't you address Wendy about that face to face? So Stacey defends her actions and she says, well, it was a lot more than just not getting along because I stood by Karen when Mia and Jacqueline were talking about her at Lake Norman, but months later, Karen did not have my back. So at that point, I said, it's time for me to tell the truth. So Wendy's like, well, since we're all telling the truth, then let me just tell you that when you came into the group, Karen actually told me that I should watch out for you because you're educated and you're smart. Now, mind you, the camera pans to Giselle and Giselle says out loud, is she? Is Stacey educated and smart? I said, girl, the shade of it all. Again, somebody let me know what happened in the off season that has led to Giselle just hating Stacey the way that she does. Because Giselle would not let that lady breathe. So Stacey is not here for the shade about her intelligence. And she says, I'm very smart, I'm very educated, I have a degree, and I'm also a wonderful person. So she goes on to say, I'm just so confused. Why would Karen not want two educated women to get to know each other? So Giselle says, girl, it's not about that. Like, that's not what that is. So now Andy cuts in and says, Giselle, you did say at one point that Karen does like to take the new girl and pretty much take her under her wing. So Giselle says, yes, she likes to groom the new girls. So now she goes on to say that she befriended Kiarna And now Stacey jumps in and says, Kiarna, did Karen warn you about anybody in this group? And Kiarna says no. So now Kiarna goes on to say that she'll always have a soft spot for Karen because of what happened last year, and Karen stood by her and went to the hospital with her and took care of her. Now, do I understand why Kiarna has a soft spot? Yes, because that was super traumatic, and that's actually one of the only times where Karen has been on the right side of history, because Karen has notoriously said that she stays in the middle, she stays neutral. But Kiarna, two things can be true at the same time. While you have a soft spot for Karen, you need to open your eyes and see the pattern that Karen has with the new girls who come on the show. She will turn on you next because, again, I don't think that Karen has the capacity to be a good friend to anybody. So you can tell that Wendy has been holding this in for a minute. She interjects and she's like, Kiarna, can I say this? And I say this with love. When it comes to Karen, Karen likes those mother goose relationships where if she feels like she can mother you, then she loves you. The minute that you're able to navigate this group without her, then she turns on you. But Wendy is correct. Let's not forget how she did Candace. She loved Candace up until Candace got assaulted. Then all of a sudden when Candace said, girl, I need you to have my back. And not only did Karen refuse, but Karen had the audacity to go to HR to try to get Candace fired. So again, Kiarna, I say this with all due respect, please watch your back. So now Andy brings up Karen's comments about Wendy being self-absorbed, and he's like, do you guys agree with that critique? And Giselle says, well, yeah, Wendy is self-absorbed. Kiarna says, yeah, she is, but in a good way. And then Giselle cuts back in and says, we all are to an extent, but with Wendy, it's a lot to digest. And I said, now, hold on, because in my humble opinion, and I'm saying this as somebody who has been watching Potomac since season 1, episode 1. I don't think that anybody's more self-absorbed than Giselle and Karen. But Wendy says, let me tell you something. It takes a strong woman to be friends with me because I walk into rooms like God sent me there because he did. Now, Wendy, I agree with that statement now. But when you first joined the show, you didn't come in with that energy. It was very much timid, you didn't really know what to do, you came in kind of shaky. Your confidence over the years has grown because again, season 5, you were a lot different than you were now. But again, I'm all for walking in your power as you should. You look good, the fashions are on point, you're doing your thing, giving us moments. I'm here for it. I don't think that you're any more self-absorbed than anybody else on this cast. So now we close out Wendy's segment with Andy wishing Wendy a happy birthday. And they're all like, oh my gosh, like this has to be the longest happy birthday I have ever seen. So now Mia's like, by the way, Andy, there have been more birthdays since Wendy's birthday, like my birthday just passed. So now Ashley's like, oh yeah, by the way, Mia, didn't you also turn 42? Mia's like, yeah. And Ashley's like, oh yeah, I heard that some stuff went down in Miami about your birthday. I want to hear about that. So I'm like, oh, okay, like, let's talk about that next because I'm dying to hear it. So now we have Miss Jassi come out to join the girls. And when I tell you, Jassi, you look beautiful. I said, girl, I know that's right. Now, a quick side note, I want to see Jassi come back. If she's not full-time, then keep her as a friend of just like this last season because I actually feel like Jassi brings something to this show and she's able to navigate in this group. The money is there. I like Jassi. But anyhow, Andy congratulates Jassi on her engagement and he wants to know if she set a date. And she says, oh yeah, a date has been set. It's going to be in the summer. And Andy's like, is everybody in this group invited? So Jassi says, of course. Now, Jassi, girl, you are playing chess because what a smart way to secure your storyline for season 10 and to get back on this show. So now we find out that her fiance Darius is now playing for the Dallas Cowboys. So they split their time between Dallas and Maryland. So Andy reads a viewer question, and when I tell you, this viewer question in particular was so shady, I said, ooh, chef's kiss. Megan from Houston, you did that. So the question reads, Jassi, it's obvious that you were the side chick who made the dude leave his family. And Mia, since you used to be a side chick, what's your professional side chick take? I said, ooh. I said, not you shading both Jassi and Mia at the same damn time. So Jassi's all defensive. She's like, let's be clear. I was never the side chick, okay? I'm the whole production. And if I am going to be a side chick, I'm going to be a side chick to somebody like you, Andy. I'll be your side chick. Andy was like, all right. I said, this is just too much. Listen, Andy's worth $100 million. He's the face of Bravo. Shoot. He could pay an American Express bill or two, honey. I get it. Let me stop it. But Jassi's going on to say that it never gave side chick. I said, sweetheart, for the last time, that timeline of you and Darius getting together, you were the side chick whether you knew or didn't know. And also, Jassi, why didn't you run away when he told you that he had somebody else pregnant? You wanted that money bad. So now Andy brings up Jassi's joke about how she renamed G&A to Gangsters and Alcohol. So that brings Andy to the next segment of Ashley and this divorce. And he's like, so Ashley, what's the status? So you have Ashley playing dumb. And she's like, oh, you mean about me and Josh? And Andy's like, no, the same question that I keep asking you every effing year. What's going on with you in this non-divorce? So you have Ashley saying that they've signed everything, they have filed for divorce, and right now it's in the state of Virginia. Now, just a few days ago, the news broke that Ashley and Michael are officially divorced. Thank God, won't he do it? Because if I had to go one more season hearing about this ongoing divorce, I was going to scream. But Ashley and Michael are officially divorced. Thank you, Lord. And we also find out that Ashley is getting child support, but she's waived her right to alimony because of the prenup. Now, what kind of dummy are you where you would even sign something like that? And I remember in season 5, when the news broke that Michael had that other lady in that hotel room, you guys went to counseling and you forced his hand to draft up a postnup that would really help you out in case you guys got divorced. What happened to that postnup? And now Andy brings up how it's the opposite for Stacey. She gets alimony but no child support. Again, that makes no sense to me. I don't know why you would waive child support, but when it comes to Miss Stacey, something in the milk ain't clean, and I believe that there is more to that story because I just don't believe that Stacey would really think that it makes sense to waive child support. Andy brings up Mia's divorce and he's like, where are you in the process? And Mia says, we're in the final stages. Giselle took a page out of Candy's book and was like, the lies, the lies, the lies. She's not hearing it. They're all like, okay, girl, really? So now you have Jassi questioning Mia, and Mia's like, no, like, we're going through with the divorce. And I said, I'll believe it when I see it, because don't be surprised if we find out that Mia and Gordon are talking about getting back together because she needs a storyline, because we don't want to hear this mess that she brought to us about who's the daddy. So Andy's like, enough about that. Let's circle back to Ashley. So he brings up the whole G&A clothing line. He reads a viewer question asking, what's G&A doing now? Like, are you guys a clothing line? Because I've checked the website and I don't see anything but you and Ashley posing like our clothes being sold, because it's giving very much She by Sheree. So Giselle says that the timing was off to sell apparel. And I said, well, when it comes to you and Ashley, the timing is always off because neither one of y'all can dress and nobody was buying that. But again, I digress. But they go on to say that they're focused more on outreach and health and wellness. So now Mia cuts in and she's like, oh, so you're a nonprofit now? I said, so Ashley says, no, we're not a nonprofit. We're a liaison between community outreach and health and wellness. So Mia's like, oh, so what's next? So Giselle says, well, we'll see if you're invited to the next thing. I said, I just think it's so funny that Giselle and Mia are on the out when just a few seasons ago, Giselle loved Mia down. That was her girl. She thought that Mia was so funny and so clever. She loved it when she was abusing and assaulting Candace and Wendy. She was clapping and slapping five, in the words of Funky Dineva. But now that Mia has talked about your daughters and she's turned on you, now you just hate her. It's always funny when the tables turn. Andy does bring up the whole dueling events drama at the beginning of this season with the ladies trying to attend Karen's event and Giselle and Ashley's event. And I'm not even going to hold you guys. I forgot all about that drama because that happened in the first 2 episodes. So they talk about that. Giselle says that her anger was mostly geared to Karen, not the other women, and she did apologize. And now Andy says, before we dismiss Jassi, any final thoughts, Jassi, about this group? And Jassi does say that it was a bit difficult navigating in this group and especially hearing them talk badly about her personal life. But I said, Jassi, you brought this mess to the forefront. Jassi, at the end of the day, the math ain't mathing. The timeline is not adding up. You were aside, whether you knew it or not, okay? When you come on a reality show with your athlete boyfriend, soon-to-be husband, and you're telling your castmates and the viewers about how y'all met, and it's clear that there was some overlap, folks are going to give their opinion and make their own assessments. It is what it is. But she says, despite all that, she did have a great time with this group. So now Ashley says, oh yeah, Jassi, before you leave, can I please ask you something? Because when I saw you at the Christmas party, you told me that something went down in Miami for Mia's birthday. And Wendy also alluded to that too, so can we get the whole story? Now, say what you want, but Ashley did Jassi a solid by bringing this all up because Jassi got more camera time. She got to stay on that couch for an additional 15, 20 minutes, and that's a big deal because every minute counts, especially in showbiz. So Jassi says, well, what happened was Mia texted both me and Stacey these beautiful invitations inviting us to Miami for her birthday. So then she goes on to say that Stacey was excited and she was down to go. And now Stacey jumps in and says, yeah, because that's what girlfriends do. They support each other. So Jassi says, we bought our tickets, booked the hotel rooms, we land in Miami, and essentially, we did not hear one word from Mia when we got there. She did not text or call Stacey back at all. So they're all like, wait, what? Like, who does that? You could tell that Andy wanted every drop of tea because he's like, Mia, can you please explain yourself? So of course we have Mia already lying. She's like, well, I just want to say, since the whole trip, I have talked to both of them. So Stacey says, no, that's a lie. You haven't talked to me. So Mia says, I did talk to you. I texted you 2 days later. And Stacey says, no, girl, you have not called me. I have not talked to you. Now, let me just stop right here. What kind of loser are you to invite people to your birthday celebration in Miami? They get there and you ghost them. Then when you guys get back to DC, you're talking about, oh, well, I texted you. You're texting me after you ghosted me when I came to celebrate you and your birthday? We would never talk again. That's an automatic block. Mia, you really need help. Like, you're really sick. Like, there's something wrong. Because who behaves like this? So Mia goes on to say that she hired a POC/event planner. Now, I couldn't stop laughing because Stacey's like, wait, a POC? What's that? So Ashley's like, oh, that's a point of contact. And now Stacey says, oh, I thought that was a probation officer. This is how I know that Mia truly needs to see somebody. Mia says, well, I had no idea that they were coming into town. Mia, how did you not know that they were coming to town when they told you they were coming to Miami? Stacey kept texting you saying, hey girl, we're here, can't wait to celebrate you. Are you okay? So everybody's confused. Andy's like, wait, you did invite them, didn't you? And Stacey's like, girl, what are you talking about? Like, are you serious right now? You're a liar. So now Mia says, well, you guys RSVP to my point of contact, not me. If you hired the point of contact, then that means that your point of contact would tell you who's RSVP'd and who hasn't, dummy. So what are you talking about? And did anybody catch how the real Stacey low-key came out? Stacey said, girl, stop, don't play with me. I said, oh, okay. And even Giselle said, oh, all right, that Detroit came out, that 313 came out of your system real quick. I said, yeah, this is the real Stacey that I want to see and not this manufactured persona that's not really you. So here goes Mia lying, saying that she learned that they both landed in Miami and she reached out to them saying, hey, where are you guys? And then she heard that they had checked into the restaurant and then when she got there, they had already left. Now, Mia, do you see how you're not even a good liar? You just said, well, I had no idea that you guys were coming. Now you're saying, oh yeah, I had heard that you guys were there and I reached out to you guys. Which one is it? Now mind you, Stacey pulled out her phone because she has the receipts. So now Wendy jumps in and she's like, Mia, you're not telling the whole story. Be very clear. You told them that the dinner started at 8. They got there and they left at 9 because you still weren't there. You got to that restaurant at 11 p.m. for your own birthday dinner. I said, come through, Wendy. Please whack Mia. Get her again. Get her for me.
I'm gonna just scoot on over and let you whack him. Get him again. Get him for me.
Mia will really sit up there and lie. Like nobody knows the real truth. Baby, when I tell you Stacey's receipts, she did that. Even Andy's like, yeah, I love receipts like this. The text thread between Stacey and Mia clearly shows that Stacey says, hey girl, we're here. Can't wait to celebrate you. See you in a few hours. Mia does not respond. We see Mia respond the next day at midnight. Mia, the fact that you were still trying to hold on to this crazy lie after Stacey's texts clearly show that she's right and you're wrong is truly something. And Mia, for you to sit there and say, well, what's the problem? I love how Giselle and Wendy both checked you. They were like, girl, what's the problem? Are you serious right now? Like, you ghosted them. Like, what are you talking about? So now Mia gives this weak ass apology and she's like, well, Stacey, I do apologize. And Stacey's like, girl, it's a bit too late for that. Like, you know, like I'm cool off this apology. I'm done. And I would feel the same exact way because this took place in November. We are here in January. You had all this time to make things right, and now you want to wait until you're exposed at the reunion to give me that dry-ass apology? You can keep it. So now Ashley's like, where was Jacqueline in this whole situation? And Jassi says, well, Jacqueline told us that she cared more about Ink than she did about us. And I said, is anybody surprised? That's how Mia is. Mia's so dick hungry. I'm not shocked to hear that. And one of y'all made a great point on Twitter. You clocked the real tea. The reason why Mia ghosted Stacey and Jassi in Miami, because she feels like they're beneath her. Jassie's only a friend of, and Stacey's a newbie, and she feels like, I mean, okay, like, they're not really those girls I'd rather hang out with better, in her opinion. So now Andy's like, Mia, do you feel bad about all this? And Mia's like, yeah, I do, because I just wanted to have fun with these girls. Mia, if you don't get the F out of my face, like, please, do us all a favor and just leave us alone. So now Wendy says, well, for being honest, the bigger elephant in the room is the fact that you two were the only ones invited. The fact that she would ghost the only two people that she invited from the group, Like, that's strange. Who does that? So, of course, Mia's being dramatic and she's asking Andy for some tissue. And Giselle tells Stacey and Jassi to invoice Mia for her flight. And I said, Giselle, that's a waste of time because Mia barely has $5 to put together. So invoicing her or sending her a Cashapp request or a Zelle request, you wouldn't get anything. Mia would probably give you enough for a Spirit flight, but she wouldn't give you enough for a Delta flight. Mia and these fake tears, I said, no ma'am. I said, baby, go somewhere else with that. She's crying about how she's going through a rough time right now. I don't want to hear it. Wendy was not with the shits whatsoever. She says, Mia, you do this all the time. Every time your back is up against the wall, you start crying. And I'm sorry, sis, but this stops today. As your friend, you were wrong. So we have Mia still crying and she's like, I understand, I effed up. I take full accountability. I have not been the best person or the best friend because I've been going through a lot. So Giselle was just like me. She was like, baby, we're all going through something. We're all going through a lot. And I said, exactly. Effie, we all got pain. Like, who the F are you to act like, oh, well, I'm going through something, so I get to be a shitty person? No. I loved seeing Wendy and Giselle get on Mia about crying because the way they used to get on Candace for crying, you have Mia still trying to gain sympathy, saying that it's been a rough season of her life. Kiarna had me wheezing. She was like, well, it's been a rough 3 years then. I said, oh. Because quiet as it's kept, you've been going through something every single year. Between the fake health scare back in season 7, I believe, then the money problems, it's always something with you. And we've all lost interest because they're all lies. So Andy's like, well, we're going to leave it here right now. It's time for break. Let me say goodbye to my side chick, Jassi. I thought that was so cute. So everybody's in their dressing rooms getting touched up. We see Stacey getting her wig curled by AJ. And now Mia comes in and she's like, hey, can we talk? So Mia's giving another whack-ass apology. And Stacey says, look, girl, it's a bit too little too late for all that. I just can't receive it right now. Like, you had ample time, and it honestly feels like you're apologizing now because you got caught. So Mia starts crying about how right now, at this very moment, she has not been a great friend, and she doesn't have the capacity to be a good friend. And I'm thinking, you have the capacity to still be a girlfriend to your new man and to spread all these lies about who's the father of your children. You have the capacity for all this mess, but not to be a good friend to people. But Mia says, well, thank you for listening to me. And now she walks out. And as she's walking into her dressing room, she's crying and saying that she wants to leave. So we end the first part with Mia slamming the door to her dressing room, and we hear her fake crying. And that's where it ends. Mia, this is what happens when you overplay your hand. Because now everybody's sick of you. Nobody on the cast likes you. The viewers can't stand you. So I really hope that you have saved your checks because it looks like your time is up and this will be your last season. But guys, when I tell y'all, this first part was phenomenal. They did that. I already knew that this recap was going to be like 3 hours long because I had to cover everything. Like, everything was just so good. Potomac, y'all did that. I cannot wait for parts 2 and 3. I need them right now. Bring it to me on a platter because it was just, good to the last drop. Like, I did not want this to end. That's how good it was. But guys, that was my long recap. I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all so much for watching, and you already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all later. Bye.